Elvis Presley's natural hair color was blonde, not the jet black the world came to know. He had an identical twin brother, Jesse Garin, who was sadly stillborn just 35 minutes before Elvis arrived. The king of rock and roll, a global icon who changed music forever, also earned a black belt in karate in 1960. Number 12. He described ambition with pure horsepower. Ambition is a dream with a V8 engine. Picture this. It's the 1950s, a time when cars weren't just transportation. They were statements. Chrome gleamed, engines roared, and the open road symbolized freedom and possibility. Elvis, a young man who had shot from driving a truck for Crown Electric to becoming the most famous person on the planet, knew about dreams. He also knew about power, the kind you could feel thrumming beneath the hood of one of his beloved Cadillacs. This quote perfectly captures that explosive mix of aspiration and raw energy. It wasn't enough to just want something. For Elvis, that dream needed power, serious thrust, the kind of get up and go that defined his music and his stage presence. Think about the raw energy of Hound Dog or Jailhouse Rock. That wasn't a quiet, little four-cylinder dream. That was pure V8 ambition firing on all cylinders. He wasn't just wishing for success, he was flooring the accelerator. This wasn't just a clever phrase. It was a mission statement fueled by high-octane determination. It spoke of a desire so strong it had mechanical force, a relentless drive that wouldn't be denied. Imagine him saying it, maybe leaning against a shiny new car, a slight smile playing on his lips, knowing exactly the kind of power he was talking about, both under the hood and within himself. It connects the American love affair with the automobile to the equally American pursuit of making something incredible out of oneself. It's gritty, it's powerful, and it's undeniably cool. It suggests that dreams need more than just hope. They need action, force, and the guts to push forward, leaving everyone else in the dust. It's the sound of potential energy converting into kinetic motion, a rock and roll philosophy wrapped in a metaphor any car lover would instantly understand. The V8 wasn't just an engine, it was the heart of his relentless pursuit. Number 11. He knew truth had staying power. Truth is like the sun. You can shut it out for a time, but it ain't going away. In a world that would soon be filled with rumors, speculation, and intense media scrutiny surrounding his every move, Elvis offered this piece of simple, profound wisdom. Think about how inescapable the sun is. You can draw the blinds, hide indoors, wait for night, but eventually it rises again. It's constant, powerful, and ultimately undeniable. That's how Elvis saw truth. You could try to ignore it, spin stories, create illusions, but the core reality would persist. It's a statement reflecting a certain groundedness, perhaps learned from his humble beginnings or his spiritual upbringing. Despite the whirlwind of fame, the screaming crowds, and the often unreal world he inhabited, this quote suggests he held on to a belief in something fundamental and unwavering. It's delivered in his characteristic straightforward Southern vernacular, it ain't going away, making it feel authentic and down to earth. Not like some lofty philosophical pronouncement. Imagine the situations he must have faced where this idea provided clarity or comfort. Maybe dealing with critics, maybe navigating personal challenges under the public eye, maybe just observing the way the world worked. It speaks to a patience, a long game perspective. Don't worry about the temporary clouds or the attempts to block the light. The truth, like the sun, has its own schedule and its own inevitable power. It carries a quiet confidence, a sense of assurance that what is real will eventually be seen. It's a powerful image, the life-giving, unavoidable sun, applied to something as fundamental as truth. It shows a mind capable of cutting through the noise and focusing on what endures. It wasn't about fighting every battle or correcting every misconception in the moment. It was about trusting that reality would assert itself in the end. Number 10. He acknowledged his flaws with humility. I ain't no saint, but I've tried never to do anything that would hurt my family or offend God. This is pure Elvis charm, a blend of honesty, humility, and deeply held values. He was the king, an idol to millions, living a life beyond most people's wildest dreams. Yet here he is, plainly stating, I ain't no saint. There's no pretense, no attempt to uphold some perfect image. He knew he wasn't flawless, and he wasn't afraid to admit it. But the second part of the quote reveals the core principles that guided him. The two things he consciously tried never to violate were hurting his family and offending God. Think about the immense pressures and temptations that must have come with his level of fame. This quote offers a glimpse into his internal moral compass. Family, especially his mother Gladys, was incredibly important to him throughout his life. His connection to his Southern gospel roots and his faith remained significant even amidst the chaos of his career. This statement balances his acknowledgement of imperfection with a clear declaration of his intentions and priority. It makes him relatable. Who among us is a saint, but striving to protect loved ones and live according to one's faith? That's a deeply human endeavor. He wasn't claiming success in always meeting this standard, only that he tried. That effort, that conscious intention, speaks volumes. It paints a picture of a man navigating extraordinary circumstances while trying to hold onto fundamental values learned long before the world knew his name. It's a moment of vulnerability and sincerity, cutting through the larger-than-life persona to show the man underneath, a man aware of his shortcomings but guided by love and faith. It suggests a constant internal check, a desire to do right by the people and the beliefs he held dear. Number 9, he championed empathy before it was cool. Don't criticize what you don't understand, son. You never walked in that man's shoes. Decades before empathy became a buzzword, Elvis was laying down this simple, powerful piece of advice. The phrasing son gives it a gentle, almost paternal feel, like wisdom passed down. It's a direct call to reserve judgment, to recognize the limits of our own perspective. How often do we jump to conclusions about others based on incomplete information or our own biases? Elvis cuts right through that tendency. The metaphor of walking in someone else's shoes is classic, but coming from him, someone constantly being watched, analyzed, and often misunderstood, it carries extra weight. He knew what it felt like to be judged by people who had no idea what his life was actually like. This quote isn't just about being nice, it's about intellectual humility. It's acknowledging that another person's experiences, motivations, and struggles are complex and often hidden from view. To criticize without understanding is fundamentally unfair and unproductive. It's a call for compassion, for trying to see the world from another angle before casting stones. Imagine him saying this quietly, perhaps to a member of his entourage or even a reporter, trying to instill a sense of fairness. It reflects a maturity and a depth that might surprise those who only saw the hip-swiveling performer. It suggests he spent time thinking about human nature and the importance of giving others the benefit of the doubt. This wasn't about condoning bad behavior, it was about condemning uninformed criticism. It's a timeless message, urging a pause, a moment of reflection, and an attempt at understanding before passing judgment. It's a cornerstone of decent human interaction, articulated plainly and powerfully. Number 8. He lived the dream and knew it. When I was a boy, I was the hero in comic books and movies. I grew up believing in a dream. Now I've lived it out. This quote is incredibly poignant, capturing the almost unbelievable trajectory of his life. Think about Elvis as a poor kid in Tupelo, Mississippi, escaping into the fantasy worlds of comics and films, dreaming of adventure, heroism, and a life less ordinary. So many kids have those dreams. But Elvis, he actually did it. He became the hero. He lived a life more fantastic than most movie plots. There's a sense of wonder in this statement, a recognition of the sheer improbability of his own story. He didn't just achieve success. He inhabited the very dreams that fueled his childhood imagination. It connects his larger-than-life persona back to the relatable dreams of a young boy. It also shows a level of self-awareness. He understood that his reality had surpassed his wildest fantasies. There's a touch of awe, perhaps even disbelief, that the boy who idolized heroes on screen became one in real life, at least in the eyes of millions. It's not boastful. It sounds more reflective, like someone looking back and marveling at the journey. He's acknowledging the power of believing in a dream, the almost magical quality of his own existence. From dreaming in Tupelo to owning Graceland, from watching movies to starring in them, from listening to music to changing its course forever, he saw the arc and he recognized it as the fulfillment of those early formative dreams. It humanizes the icon by reminding us of the boy he once was, while simultaneously highlighting the extraordinary nature of the man he became. It's a statement about the power of imagination and the sometimes surreal nature of achieving one's deepest aspirations. Number 7. He understood rhythm was everything. Rhythm is something you either have or don't have, but when you have it all over. Nobody embodied rhythm quite like Elvis. It was in his voice, his legs, his hips, his sneer. It was the electricity that jolted through his performances and captivated audiences worldwide. This quote is his own assessment of that innate quality. He saw rhythm not just as a musical element, but as a fundamental state of being. It wasn't something you could learn halfway. It was an all-or-nothing proposition. And if you were lucky enough to possess it, it permeated everything you have it all over. It explains the seemingly effortless way he moved, the way his voice syncopated and played with the beat, the sheer physical embodiment of the music he sang. He wasn't just performing the rhythm. He was the rhythm. Think about watching him on stage. Every fiber seemed attuned to the beat. This quote suggests he felt it, too, an undeniable force within him. It's confident, almost primal. It speaks to the natural, unteachable aspect of true musicality and stage presence. It wasn't technique alone. It was something deeper, something inherent. It captures the essence of his unique gift, that magnetic quality that made it impossible to look away when he performed. He understood that this rhythm was the source of his power, the magic ingredient that set him apart. It wasn't just in his feet. It was in his soul, radiating outward. It's a simple, direct explanation for an electrifying phenomenon offered by the man who was its living proof. It validates the idea that some people are just born with that certain something, that undeniable groove. Number 6, he felt the weight of his own image. The image is one thing, and the human being is another. It's very hard to live up to an image. Behind the gold lame suits, the screaming fans, and the title, King of Rock and Roll, there was a person. This quote is a rare and candid admission of the pressure that came with being Elvis Presley. He understood that the public persona, the image, was a construct, separate from the human being underneath. And he explicitly states the difficulty of bridging that gap, of constantly trying to meet the world's expectations of who Elvis should be. Imagine carrying the weight of being the most famous man in the world. Every action, every word, every perceived flaw, magnified and judged against an idealized version of yourself. This quote reveals the vulnerability behind the confident exterior. It shows he was aware of the dichotomy, the potential trap of becoming a prisoner of your own legend. It's a moment of profound insight into the psychological toll of immense fame. He wasn't just a performer. He was a symbol. And living up to a symbol 24/7 is an impossible task for any human being. This statement fosters empathy for him, reminding us that even cultural icons struggle with identity and expectation. It hints at the isolation that can come with fame, where the public image obscures the real person trying to navigate life. It's a surprisingly introspective comment from someone often perceived through the lens of pure entertainment. He's acknowledging the mask and the difficulty of wearing it constantly. It adds a layer of complexity to his story, suggesting internal struggles beneath the surface of superstardom. Number 5. He claimed his moves weren't about being sexy. I'm not trying to be sexy. It's just my way of expressing myself when I move around. This quote is fascinating given that his swiveling hips and energetic movements were precisely what drove audiences wild and led critics to label him vulgar or overly suggestive in the conservative 1950s. Whether you take it at face value or see it as charmingly naive, or perhaps cleverly deflective, it's pure Elvis. He frames his revolutionary stage presence not as a calculated attempt to provoke or seduce, but as a natural, almost involuntary expression of the music he felt. It suggests an innocence, or at least a focus on the artistic impulse, rather than the audience's reaction. It's just my way of expressing myself. Sounds guileless, like a kid explaining why he can't sit still when his favorite song comes on. He felt the rhythm, and his body responded. According to this quote, the perceived sexiness was a byproduct, not the goal. It positions him as an artist, lost in the moment, channeling the energy of rock and roll physically. It could also be seen as a way to disarm critics, framing his controversial style as authentic expression rather than intentional rebellion. Regardless of the underlying truth, the statement itself has a certain charm. It portrays him not as a manufactured sex symbol, but as someone whose physical response to music was simply too powerful to contain. It emphasizes the connection between the sound and the movement, suggesting they were inseparable parts of his artistic identity. He moved because the music made him move. The effect on the audience, that was their interpretation. Number 4. He knew how to end a show with grace. I hope I didn't bore you. After pouring his heart and soul into a performance, electrifying thousands with his voice, energy, and charisma, Elvis would sometimes cap it off with this incredibly humble line. Think about the juxtaposition: the king of rock and roll, the man who had the audience in the palm of his hand, expressing a simple hope that he hadn't been boring. It's disarmingly modest. It shows a surprising insecurity, perhaps, or maybe just a deep-seated Southern politeness and a genuine desire to please his audience. It completely undercuts the godlike status his fans afforded him. Instead of taking a triumphant bow basking in the adoration, he offers this quiet, almost self-deprecating closing remark. It instantly makes him seem approachable, grounded, despite the pandemonium he just unleashed. It suggests he never took his audience for granted, that he always felt the need to deliver and connect. This wasn't the statement of an arrogant superstar. It was the sentiment of a performer genuinely concerned about the experience he provided. It adds a touch of endearing vulnerability to the end of the spectacle. Imagine the roar of the crowd, the flashing lights, the sheer energy, and then this soft-spoken hope. It's a small gesture, but it speaks volumes about his connection to the fans and his awareness that ultimately he was there to entertain them. It's a perfect blend of superstardom and humility, a final touch of charm before leaving the building. Number 3. He saw simple goodness in animals. Animals don't hate, and we're supposed to be better than them. Elvis was a well-known animal lover, famously keeping a variety of pets at Graceland, including dogs, horses, donkeys, and even a chimpanzee named Scatter. This quote reflects that affection, but elevates it into a simple, powerful, moral observation. He points to a fundamental difference. Animals operate on instinct, survival, and perhaps affection, but they don't possess the capacity for hatred in the complex, often destructive way humans do. The second part of the quote, "and we're supposed to be better than them," is a gentle but clear indictment of human behavior. It uses the perceived innocence and lack of malice in animals as a mirror highlighting mankind's failings. If creatures we consider lesser can exist without hate, why do humans who claim superiority and possess reason and morality engage in it so readily? It's a straightforward piece of philosophy, delivered without pretense. It speaks to a desire for a kinder, simpler world, perhaps, reflecting his own experiences with the complexities and conflicts of human relationships and society. It shows a capacity for reflection on basic ethical questions. Coming from a global superstar, this observation about animals and human nature feels refreshingly direct and heartfelt. It aligns with his known love for animals, giving it authenticity. It's a call for humans to live up to their potential for goodness, using the uncomplicated nature of animals as a benchmark. Number 2. He knew values leave their mark. Values are like fingerprints. Nobody's are the same, but you leave them all over everything you do. This is a brilliant and enchantable analogy. Fingerprints are unique indicators, invisible until they leave a mark on a surface they touch. Elvis compares personal values, core beliefs, ethics, principles, to these unique prints. Firstly, he acknowledges individuality. Everyone's values are different, nobody's are the same. There's no one-size-fits-all moral code. Secondly, and crucially, he points out their inescapable influence. You leave traces of your values on everything you do, whether you intend to or not. Your actions, your decisions, your creations, your relationships, they all bear the imprint of what you truly believe and prioritize. It suggests that character isn't just about stated beliefs. It's about the evidence left behind by your passage through life. It's a call for self-awareness and integrity, implying that our true values will inevitably reveal themselves through our conduct. Think about his own life, his generosity, his loyalty to his friends, the Memphis Mafia, his flashes of temper, his dedication to his music, his relationship with his family. All these could be seen as fingerprints of his underlying values. The quote encourages us to consider what marks we are leaving. Are they consistent with the values we claim to hold? It's a sophisticated thought expressed in simple visual terms. It speaks to the inescapable nature of character and the way our inner compass guides our outer actions, leaving a unique pattern on the world. Number 1. He had a humorous take on his career path. I was training to be an electrician. I suppose I got wired the wrong way. This gem perfectly shanks Elvis's self-deprecating humor and his ability to maintain perspective despite his astronomical fame. Before music took over, he did indeed study to become an electrician, following a brief stint driving trucks. The pun "wired the wrong way" is pure gold. It playfully suggests that his deviation from a conventional career path into the explosive world of rock and roll was some kind of cosmic or electrical mistake. Instead of wiring houses, he ended up wiring audiences with an unprecedented energy. It's charming because it acknowledges his humble beginnings and frames his extraordinary talent with a light-hearted shrug. He wasn't destined for rock stardom according to any traditional plan. It just happened, maybe because his internal wiring was different. This quote downplays the ambition and drive that clearly fueled him. Remember the V8 engine, in favor of a humorous, almost accidental explanation for his success. It makes him relatable, like someone laughing at the unexpected turns life can take. Imagine him saying this with that trademark crooked smile, knowing full well how much of an understatement it was. It's a folksy, witty remark that connects the teenage Elvis learning about circuits to the global icon who sent shockwaves to popular culture. It shows he never completely lost touch with the ordinary young man he once was, able to joke about the sheer unlikeliness of his own life story. It's a perfect example of his unique charm, confident enough to be humble, and famous enough to joke about ending up wired differently from everyone else.